Hello everyone! Do you want a book haul? I want a book haul, and this is the quarantine book haul that I promised. There will be other books in the future, especially since the province of Ontario where I live is slowly, very slowly, allowing businesses to reopen over time, just a little bit. So I may very well be able to walk in a bookstore again real soon. These ones I ordered recently. There are 6 books in total. They're all vampire novels. So if you're curious about vampire fiction, if this is your first video of mine that you're watching, I think you're in for a treat. 3 of these books come from series, 2 from one series, 1 from another. And the other 3 books are individual novels and stories that don't have a connection to anything else. For the first book I want to talk about is Prince Lestat by Anne Rice. This one is the first of the 3 newer books in the Vampire Chronicles that was published earlier in the decade, 2015 or 2014. The story of this is essentially vampires around the world are led by some mysterious voice that is prompting them to burn their kin. Like everywhere around the world this is going on. Not that there was a lot of vampires to begin with, because if you've read Queen of the Damned, you know there's not a whole lot of them left after that book. But there's been some decades, a few decades since then, and this book, timeline-wise, because this is still very much real-time type thing, as much as it can be. So you have Turn of Lestat, of course, you have Louis, you have Armand, and that's just what the blurb on the back mentions. There's probably other characters that are familiar, that people who have read the earlier books are familiar with, that are in the book as well, just those are the specific ones mentioned. It's a very simple cover. It doesn't really match with any of the other covers of the other 2 of the newer books, which I'm kind of disappointed about. At which the publisher actually did try to match all of them up. I really don't like when publishers do stuff like that. I mean, it's no fault on Anne. You know, she had nothing to do with deciding what the cover would look like or anything. But yeah, this does intrigue me. I'm still a ways away because I'm only just hitting the 5th book in the series, and this one is, if you count the 2 books of New Tales of the Vampires, this one is book 13 out of 15. And then with this next book, also by Anne Rice, Prince Lestat in the Realms of Atlantis. With these 2 books, I am now fully rounded out with the Vampire Chronicles. I am now able to completely read the series from start to finish without interruption. Thank goodness. So, I'll admit, when I saw the title for this book, I wasn't sure what to think. I'm still not sure what to think, because I'll have to read the book to find out. But, like, am I the only one who thinks that there's no way I would have thought to connect the Legends of Atlantis with vampires? Like, there's no way I would have thought about that at all. Aliens, maybe? Some other advanced human civilization, perhaps? But certainly not vampires. Not in any stretch. This one is the direct continuation of Prince Lestat, and then it's followed up by Blood Communion, which I've already had that book for a little while. This next book, it doesn't look as thick as some of the others, and it isn't, but it's deceptively heavy. Like, seriously, you feel this thing is a good few pounds on its own, at least. Like, didn't expect that when I picked it up. This one is Children of the Night by Dan Simmons, and this one is just a single one-off novel, and there's the premise of the book is that there's this child in Romania that is dying and is given a special blood transfusion, I think by mistake? An ill infant is given a blood transfusion by mistake, completely by accident, and they miraculously heal. So, the protagonist of the book brings this child to America because they want to use this child's miracle blood as a cure for diseases like cancer and AIDS and stuff. But they discover that the blood that this child received is connected to vampires and Dracula in particular. And then the child is abducted. So then the protagonist is then forced to track this child down to try and get them back. And I really love simple covers like this, and this is a matte cover too. Matte covers have a really nice feeling. Have you noticed that? Like, I really like the feeling of this book. And the concept of this book really intrigues me. This is another one of those books that is highly recommended when it comes to a list of books of vampire novels that are highly recommended just in general by a lot of people. So I'm excited to read this. This next book I'm going to talk about here is another individual novel, not part of a series. It is The Vampire Tapestry by Suzy, McKee, Charnas. The concept of this one is also very interesting. The focus of the story is a man who is an anthropology professor, and so far as he is aware, he is the only vampire in the world. And his condition is more of a biological nature rather than a supernatural nature. And that kind of thing was what I really loved reading I Am Legend for, is finding some kind of realistic scientific explanation for the existence of vampirism in humans. And this is very, very interesting in concept, with the fact that he doesn't even like killing people either. He prefers to find other methods if he can in any way. I mean, I don't think he'll succeed in the entire book, of course, because it's vampires. They usually have to kill at least one person, right? Simple cover, and this is another one of those highly recommended list books that is you must read these vampire novels type thing. So this one, I'm very happy to own this one finally, and I look forward to reading it. Now, if you've watched my review on Dracula, you might be a little surprised by this. It's another classic, so we'll see how well it goes. It's Carmilla by Joseph Sheridan Fanu. This book was published originally about I think it was 20-something years before Bram Stoker's Dracula was, so it's highly likely that Stoker was influenced by this book in some manner. So the premise of the story is that there's this young woman from some kind of aristocratic or noble family who becomes friends with and in turn seduced by a female vampire, the titular Carmilla. This particular edition is published by Syracuse University Press. I probably pronounced that wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. And this particular edition is meant for educational purposes. You know, there's a special foreword to it. There are some essays in there as well about various things brought up in the book. Bibliography and stuff like that. So if you are someone who is looking to study the story of Carmilla for like educational purposes or whatever, this is probably a very good one for you to pick up as well. It wasn't too expensive to buy. It was like $20-something Canadian, so that would be cheaper in American dollars, of course. And it's a very nice cover. Very simple, and again, matte covers. I love my matte covers. So this one is short and sweet, so I will probably end up reading this one relatively soonish. My TBR for May is already set up, so it's probably not going to be in May at all. June or July, perhaps. It's interesting. After reading Dracula's Brood, which had a lot of stories that were very old-style English, I'm kind of getting more used to reading that now, so I might have an easier time reading this as a result. The final book is by a name that, when it comes to horror novels, I think is kind of well known, and that is Tananarive. If you're familiar with her, then you might be interested in this book, and that is My Soul to Keep. This is part of a series. It's the first book in the series titled African Immortals. And it's following a journalist named Jessica, who becomes enraveled with DeWitt, who is an immortal who he's very interested in learning stuff. What is said on the back as he has a thirst for wisdom, or is the specific wording that was used. And he breaks a covenant of, don't fall in love with anyone. And so it's as much of a vampire story as it is a romance story. It looks very, very interesting. I'm intrigued, and if I enjoy this book, I will definitely pick up the other books in the series. Alright, so there you have it. Here are the 6 books I have spoken to you about in this video today. I am curious to find out what you think of the books I picked up. Are you interested in any of them? Have you read any of them? I would like to hear your thoughts about it in the comment section below. And with that, thank you for watching. I post a new video every Tuesday and Friday. Have a good one, guys. Bye!